Good afternoon. 2 p.m. with the Trigger, streaming live on multiple channels. And why are we doing this every day, Monday through Friday? Because we're here to help you shine on camera and shine on stage, to help you elevate you and your brand authority through the power of media and public speaking. Public speaking scares the death out of people, and we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to do something about that. Thanks for joining me here today. Rich Bontrager back with you. It's a beautiful day. I hope it's been good for you. You're safe and having a great summertime. We're going to be talking today about the fear of public speaking, but not the fear of public speaking, finding freedom from the fear of public speaking. That's right. We're going to help you find freedom a little bit here today, help you explain a little bit what this whole fear of public speaking is all about. As always, drop a note in the chat. Give me some love. Let me know where you're at. Yesterday, we had people from around the world joining us, streaming on multiple platforms. Every day, we're on 2 different Facebook channels. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. And we're here on LinkedIn, of course, streaming live. But it's great to hear where you're at, where you're coming in from. We had Mexico. We had people literally driving down the road, listening in. The power of streaming content is so powerful and so helpful today. That's why I'm committed to being here to help you out. So 5 facts about the fear of speaking that you may not know about. You may not be aware of these very interesting facts. Now, some people think it's just a fear. Growing up, as some of you have heard, I had a horrible stutter. I still have that stutter, but I've worked around it. I've come to cope with it. I've embraced my stutter as part of my brand and part of who I am. But my fear of speaking was so strong, I could not read out loud, see Dick run, see Jane run, see Dick and Jane run. Could not do any of that stuff growing up, to the point where I would run out of the room crying. I desperately wanted to be a public speaker. I desperately wanted to learn the skill and the craft of doing that, but it wasn't working for me. So first off, is it just a fear we have, or is it more? For some people, it's more than a word. It's an actual phobia. Now, the fear of speaking is also known as glossophobia. I'm not making that up. Google that. Glossophobia. It translates into tongue fear. Now, being a stutterer, I definitely had tongue fear. Many people had tongue fear. It's common in actors that have finally overcome it. Lawyers, doctors, many people have this fear of overcoming, or this phobia of speaking. So think of that, first of all. It is a real thing. There is glossophobia, and it's fear of the tongue. It's fear of what's going to come out, how it's going to come out, and embarrassment, and saying the wrong thing at the same wrong time. How many of you have ever put your foot in your mouth publicly? Raise your hand. I have. I have done a marvelous job of putting my foot in my mouth, and that takes time to pull it back out and refix things. Now, the second fact I want to tell you about the fear of speaking is it's the most common fear in all the world. You probably have heard that, but as much as 77% of the population of the world has some form of public speaking. 77% of our world has this fear of public speaking. Whew. Now, since pandemic, we've all jumped on camera. We've all jumped onto Zoom, Google, Restream. We've had business meetings. We're now talking to people. We have microphones in our homes, and we've all had to learn how to speak and show up on camera. So that has taken that percentage of 77% of people globally have a fear of speaking. It's taken that higher because we now have a camera in front of us, so people can see what we look like. They can see when we're near us. They can see when we're perspiring and getting all red in the face and all those things that we don't want anyone to see. Believe me, when I was in radio broadcasting, starting my career many years ago, I'm glad there wasn't a camera there at the beginning, because I was focusing on every little detail, rehearsing what I was going to say, which became part of the problem after a while. I found out I was better ad-libbing, not reading a script in advance. I found I was better by just ripping and reading and going for it. part of the mystery of a stutterer. But people have these fears. You put a camera in front of them and they lock up. I've had so many people that I coach, especially early on with pandemic, they would have that camera go on and they would be great talking, laughing, telling stories. And then as soon as the light went on, hi, great to be here, Rich. I am so thrilled to be here. And it was a train wreck with people trying to learn to speak with a camera because it just elevated the fear and the anxiety. Globally, though, 77% of people have this fear. Now, the third thing I want to bring out about public speaking and the fear of it, it is a type of social phobia. Fear of speaking is less about actually speaking. It's more about speaking to strangers of people that are maybe distant, but they're important. That was one of my big fears, walking into a room of people and realizing this is some power brokers. These are some players. And I'm not. I've always struggled with that, even to this day, that I'm still not that much of a power player. Excuse me, part of my lunch. But I'm not one of those guys that's going to be big and bold and brash, and I'm not going to be the star in that room, but there's other people smarter, brighter, greater, and that fear comes up, and it's a very real thing. So it's not about speaking. It's really less about that. It's more about the anxiety of talking to people. That's why when I coach people, I tell them when you first start up, one of the things you do is look over everyone's head. If you're up on a stage, look through everyone's head and look at a clock in the back of the room. Look at a painting in the back of the room. Find 2 or 3 objects that are spaced out throughout the room. And those are the things you look at and use as your benchmarks. People will think you're looking at them. They'll think you're addressing them, but you're really talking to the painting that has no threat to you. You're talking to the clock in the back of the room. Maybe the fire extinguisher. You find something to go talk to instead of talking to people. That will alleviate the fear and help you to get stronger and stronger at being a presenter. Now, the fourth thing I want to talk about when this fear arises is the size of the audience does not matter. People have the fear of speaking, get nervous if it's big, medium, small, one-on-one. It's the fear of speaking and presenting and sharing important information. It's the fear of how do you pass it on? How do you get it from my head to my mouth to you in a way that's going to be received well? So it doesn't matter about the size of the crowd you're speaking to. That's why I tell everybody, just speak to the crowd like any way you want to. And speak to the audience of one. Learn how to speak to one person, even though you may have hundreds in the room, 50 in the room. Learn to speak to one person at a time, and that will help you. But this idea that the larger the crowd, the larger the anxiety, no, that's not true. Size does not really matter in this. It's the fear of what you're going to say and how you're going to sound like. Number 5, the point out here is it can cause other issues. This fear of speaking out, and can actually turn into other issues as well, which sounds kind of crazy, but people who have dreaded public speaking can develop other issues like anxiety, depression, because they didn't achieve, they didn't step up, they passed the microphone around and you went, oops, nope, not doing it. And that anxiety, that other depressional state of why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? Comes out and it just grows and grows and grows. Now, those are 5 things you may not know about it, but what are we going to do about it? Good news for you. We have a great thing coming up here because July is Freedom from the Fear of Public Speaking Month. I'm not making this up. This is not a trigger makeup. This is something that's annually celebrated every year. So during the month of July, the first week of July, I am going to do a special series of interviews, discussions with fellow speakers that are going to take on different topics to show up here and help you with public speaking. We're going to talk about that fear of anxiety, the fear of embarrassment. We're going to have that fear of, ooh, I did it once and it didn't go well. I can't go back out there again. We're going to have 7 different speakers over the course of 1 week, July 2nd through July 8th. We'll be on 2 p.m. live right here. And each speaker will address one of these different fears that we may struggle with. The idea is not to beat you up. The idea is to show a way through the fear. They give you hope of how to navigate these fears so you can achieve the goal, the dream you want of stepping up the microphone and shining. Throughout the month of July, we'll continue on, and we're going to be doing other guest appearances during 2 p.m. live to make it a whole month of helping you get hope, encouragement, and have a little fun with public speaking. We'll tell you more about that, but you're going to want to mark your calendars July 2nd through July 8th, Sunday through Saturday, and we are going to do freedom from the fear of public speaking all week long right here on 2 p.m. As always, if you want to learn more about what we do with Rock Stage Media, we do help people conquer their fears. But more than that, we help you shine on camera and shine on stage. The camera is not going away. So this 77% of all people fearing public speaking is not going away. What we do is we help you overcome the fear by gaining confidence, by gaining that brand authority and the presence that you are an expert in your field. And as an expert in your field, you can talk about what you talk about with authority, with confidence. You don't have to talk about everything, but you are a genius in your own space. And the best way to learn to be a public speaker, to shine and be confident and overcome those fears, own your brand and your brand placement in your industry. Own the fact that you're an expert and you can step up without hesitation and talk on XYZ, and it's always going to be right. That's what Rock the Stage Media is here. We help you learn how to public speak, leverage media, and shine on camera and shine on stage to achieve your goals. You want to learn more about that, you can always book a call. Let's connect. Let's talk one-to-one. Let's make sure that we're addressing your needs, your fears, your questions, your comments. I would love to have a conversation with you one-to-one to help you learn how to get where you want to get. I've got several of those calls coming up today. People are booking and connecting. I love doing this throughout the week because I'm a servant at heart, and I want to serve you to help you reach those dreams. As always, if you want to learn more about what we do, feel free to connect at richbontrager.net, rich@richbontrager.net. That's the email right here. Here it comes. Producers on it. Love it. rich@richbontrager.net. And, of course, you can always go to rockstagemedia.com. Those were just some of the 5 things you may not have known about the fear of speaking. Again, we'll be back tomorrow with 2 p.m. live with The Trigger with another interesting topic, insights, and, of course, here to help you shine on camera, shine on stage. But mark your calendar. We have a big month coming up, the month of July. We're giving you freedom in the month of July, freedom from that fear of public speaking. We'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. with The Trigger. We'll be back again at 2 p.m. Eastern Time live.